Thank you for joining us on the On the Vine podcast. We are so excited to be a resource for the Black community on all things related to health, wellness, finances, and family. Today, we are focused on the fact that May is Maternal Mental Health Awareness Month, and we have a very special guest who is here to share some pertinent information with us so that we can ensure that the women in our lives who are interested in becoming pregnant, who are pregnant, or who are postpartum can receive the quality care that they deserve, contrary to what the data is telling us. But we'll get into more of that in a bit. But I would like to introduce our very special guest. Her name is Natasha Aldridge of Natural Queen Essentials, based here in Richmond, Virginia, but serving all, I'm certain. We'll get into that. So let me share a little bit about her background. Natasha Aldridge is a dedicated advocate for maternal and reproductive health equity with a passion for ending systemic racism within healthcare. She overcame early challenges as a teen mom and college dropout, and her journey led her from a corporate career in finance and project management to women's holistic health. In 2020, she founded Natural Queen Essentials, initially focused on herbal remedies for endometriosis and other gynecological issues. Recognizing her clients' needs went unmet, she transitioned into becoming a full spectrum community doula, assisting over 400 women and providing over 500 yoni facilitation kits. She has an educational background in criminal justice with a bachelor's in business administration, and she is passionate about advocacy and community engagement. I am so excited to welcome Natasha Aldridge to talk to us about the importance of maternity mental health. Hi, Natasha.
Hello, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for that warm welcome.
You're so very welcome. Thank you so much for taking some time to share information with us. Very important information, I might add.
Yeah.
Um, that I'm certain is going to be a great resource for a lot of individuals who end up finding their way to the On the Vine podcast. Clearly, we are two melanated women. Um, I will say Black women. Just because we have melanin sometimes doesn't always mean we're Black. But in this conversation, we both are Black women. And we know from a number of statistics, from watching the news, from reading magazines, that there are huge disparities in healthcare in general for Black and Brown people. So I can only imagine that it is magnified, when it comes to maternal care for Black and Brown women. And I'm so curious to know more about how you found your way into this career field and how this became your passion and your purpose.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for asking that question.
Yes.
So, to tell you the truth, I didn't find it, it found me, right?
Mm,
It absolutely found me. As I was navigating corporate throughout COVID, I was able to
mm,
do a lot of research to learn about a lot of herbs. I had just overcame two laparoscopy surgeries due to endometriosis, and
mm,
I was navigating a challenging endometriosis and fertility journey.
mm,
Throughout that journey, though, I was led to holistically be able to assist myself in overcoming those challenges that I was having. So as I began to open my business and as I began to service women within the community, it led to several different journeys.
okay.
Several different journeys. So I am so glad that it's led to that journey. That's what equated to me being a perinatal health equity coach, right? Because I have so many different avenues or ambassadorships or programs that I'm working with and servicing that I had to generalize everything that I am consistently doing.
Hmm. So I'm curious, do you mind sharing just a few of the specific services that you are currently offering to the community?
Yes, so currently I am offering doula services, full spectrum trauma informed doula services,
Mm,
as well as maternal mental health assistance, as well as just assisting them with finding resources within the area, right? So basically, just the perinatal health equity coach. What exactly is that? Basically, I am community driven to implement initiatives designed to address racial disparities to help face those maternal morbidity and mortality rates, right? Support and
hmm.
provide resources for Black families.
Okay. Awesome. And I would like to take a real quick step backwards for just 1 second,
Yes,
because there may be individuals who find their way to this podcast who are not at all familiar.
absolutely.
Would you mind explaining to us exactly what a doula is?
Yes, absolutely. So a doula is non-medical, right? We
Mhm.
provide emotional, physical, spiritual, evidence-based information, as well as providing compassion.
Okay. Okay, awesome. And is this something that individuals are able to pay for extra services to receive? Or is it something that may be available at no cost to individuals through different community programs?
So there are different types of doulas that we have, right? We have
Oh,
preconception doulas, we have birth doulas, we have postpartum doulas, we have abortion doulas, we have
mhm,
as well as compassion doulas. If your child is in the NICU doulas, we have a lot of
mhm.
subspecialties that you can have as a doula. We have doulas that specifically work with the justice population. We have doulas that work within the LGBT community. It's basically client centered care.
Okay, awesome. I would think that that's something, to be quite honest, I'm somewhat familiar only because of my full-time employment, and just somewhat being educated a little, over the years. But I didn't know what a doula was when I was pregnant with my daughter, who will be 25 next week. You know what I mean? So I didn't know what it was. And I am a college educated woman. It is just that so many things are not always or often readily available in the Black and Brown community for us to have the knowledge of the resources that may be available to assist us. And I truly had no idea there are so many different types of doulas that you can choose from depending upon what your needs are at that time. So that's really great to know. Let's talk a little bit about what are some of the resources that you are familiar with. Well, before we even get into that, um, just anything that you're willing to share that is data based in reference to what maternal health and maternal mental health is looking like in Virginia or across the nation right now. We know, again, not only as Blacks but as women, oftentimes so many things take a backseat when it comes to our health care. As someone of a certain age, I'm finding as I research menopause and things of that nature, which is a separate conversation, how
Yeah.
much research is not done, and people are just discovering things. And so I can imagine, to an extent, although women have been giving birth since the beginning of time, that there are still so many different nuances um, that are just becoming aware. But we are not always given the priority, and especially Black and Brown women, to know sometimes what our needs are and how we can kind of close the gap on some of these disparities that we see in healthcare across the board, but again, specific to um, pregnant women and postpartum women. So, any resources or any information that you would like to share in terms of the state or the nation, how we're doing right now?
Yes, as I shared with you, the 2024 Maternal Mental Health Report Card, as
Hmm.
you can see, the state of Virginia received a D.
Yeah.
So when we look at overall, when we look at mental health, right, one
Hmm.
in five women experience it. One
Yeah.
in five women experience it, but only 10% seek treatment or
Hmm.
acknowledge treatment.
Mm,
So it is very hard to get all of the statistics, all the research that is needed. Because a lot of times when you are experiencing this throughout your perinatal stage, and when I say perinatal stage, that is pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. Postpartum. That entire period is perinatal,
okay.
right? They
Okay.
do not, they may not know.
Mm-hmm.
They may not speak to anyone about it, or they may not seek treatment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I guess there comes a point where off the top of my head, I can think of several different reasons why this might be, right? Um, this is no excuse what I'm about to say, but I think for many, too many, in Black, let's talk about Black communities. There is a stigma that is kind of assigned when you start talking about emotional or mental health issues. And so I'm certain that that might play a bit of a role as to why people don't ask for the services sometimes. However, even if there is a stigma attached to it and there may be some level of shame or ignorance, and I say that in terms of the true meaning,
Yes.
not knowing.
Mhm.
However, we do know that it should be a requirement for healthcare professionals to be able to identify certain things that they are seeing and to offer those services and maybe even do a little bit of a soft sell so that people feel more comfortable accessing those services. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And the thing is, a lot of people don't know the resources that are available,
Yeah.
right? One of the
Hmm.
questions you asked about doula services.
Hmm.
So go back in history and we look, we called it other words besides being a doula. You know that aunt that will always be at that birth, or that grandmother that was
Hmm.
always there when someone gave birth? We just
Yeah.
called it different names, right? Or we didn't
Yeah.
have a title to it because the actual term doula is Greek for female servant.
The
So
the actual term doula is Greek for.
yes, female servant.
Okay.
So a lot of people did not go by that. So when we look at as far as doula services and what's provided, in Virginia, our Department of Medical Assistance is covering doulas for clients that do receive Medicaid.
Hmm. And so would one of the titles or former titles be midwives?
So, no, it's totally different, right?
Oh,
So when we
different.
think
Okay.
about, yes, so and that's the thing, doula versus midwife, right?
Okay.
That is a perfect example, right? So
Yeah.
a doula provides that non-medical support. And when you think about doula, think about support, right? Think about
Okay.
emotion, think about physical hands-on support, think
Gotcha.
about think about spiritual support, think about
Mm,
anything that does not require it to be non-medical, right? When
okay.
we talk about midwife, there are several different types of midwives. There's
Okay.
traditional midwives, there's certified nurse midwives, there's different types of midwives. But midwives are the actual ones that can assist with that medical support, right? They
Gotcha.
they help with all low risk pregnancies. They think that, oh, if I'm not having a home birth, I don't have to have a doula.
Mm,
Or you can
mm.
have a doula in any setting that you are in. You can have it at
Because
home.
they're confusing the two terms.
That's correct,
Like I
yes.
did. Okay.
So you can
Gotcha.
have it at home, you can have it at a hospital or a birthing center. But
Mm-hmm.
that's providing that knowledge, that child birth education
Mm-hmm.
to any pregnant person will assist them in knowing I have options.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In your opinion, what do you think would make a good health care team for someone who is thinking of becoming pregnant or someone who is pregnant? And I say that from a standpoint as just thinking of myself. I went through a period where I was very stressed out. I gained a ton of weight, and it really did do my body, my mind, it kind of did everything in. So, as a part of my healthcare team, I had my standard primary care doctor, I had a therapist, I had an endocrinologist, I had I found a naturopathic doctor to go to. Um, it's like it really does kind of take a village of really good, knowledgeable people. And they all serve different purposes. So thinking the same thing when it comes to maternal health and maternal mental health. What would you recommend that women who are thinking of becoming pregnant or who are pregnant try to find to comprise their medical care team?
Yes. So let's think, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not pregnant yet. You're thinking of getting pregnant. You may have experienced fertility issues, right?
Mm,
Or you may be pregnant and you may have had some challenges or be considered high risk, right?
mm,
Most challenges happen from being overwhelmed. Imagine experiencing fertility issues or imagine being pregnant and having a lot of different trauma. You
mm.
need assistance of who do I go to? Where do I start? Where do I begin? So
Yeah.
I would say number one, I would be start researching doulas, finding doulas, seeing if your insurance cover it, see if there's any programs, right? Even if you
Mm-hmm.
have not received as of yet, having a doula through that process because there are fertility doulas. There are doulas that can help you at those beginning stages. Doulas, we have resources. Everyone calls us the plug, right? We know midwives, we know mental health specialists, we know where you can get diapers, we know where community baby showers are, we know
Good
what you're.
OBGYNs, in case
Yes,
someone doesn't even know that, you know?
yes, just
Yeah.
even our experience at hospitals based upon the care that you particularly need. So
Yeah.
when you're looking at it, possibly having a doula, deciding if you want to have an OBGYN, deciding how you want to give birth. Do you want to give birth at home? Do you want to give birth at a hospital or a birthing center? And if so, what do you want to give birth with an OBGYN or do you want to give birth with a midwife, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then looking at all other aspects of what do you feel like you need, right? Especially when preconception, possibly a nutritionist, possibly somebody that can help you with a healthy pregnancy, somebody
Mm-hmm.
that can really assist you with your nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at that, right? Also, as well, a lot of times when we look at preconception, a lot of the issues are root issues,
Mm-hmm.
they're lineage issues, or
Mm-hmm.
they're lineage things that need to be taken a look at. So also having a therapist, right? Starting therapy with someone, really getting familiar with your therapist so you feel comfortable talking to them about your fertility journey. You feel talking to them talking about the options that you may not know what options you have available for your pregnancy. Really beginning to have that therapist as well as you need your community. You need your friends, you need your
Mm-hmm.
family. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
have that around, seeking that support, seeking your tribe that you can vent to, that can listen to you, that knows how to involve you, knows how to uplift you and motivate you.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So let's say that, per your recommendation, one of the first members of a maternal health and mental health care team should be a doula. What
Okay.
would be the first resource for someone who lives in Virginia to be able to locate I'm going to say certified doula?
Certified doula. Yes.
Mhm.
So the DMAS website provides all the state certified doulas.
Okay, and just because, for personal reasons, I'm going to go ahead and spell it all out. It is the
Okay.
Virginia Department of Medical Assistance Services, better
Yes.
known as DMAS.
That's correct, right? So but that's for Virginia State Certified Doulas, right? That's
Yeah.
where you can find that. No, and then finding does your insurance cover a doula,
Mm, mm-hmm,
right? If you
mm-hmm,
have Medicaid, you can seek to say what is your managed care organization, what doula services does it cover? What is provided there, right? Also
mm-hmm,
looking in your county and city to see is
mm.
there any community organization that have grants that are providing services? You know, what matches what you need to have, what your main goal and focus is.
Okay, awesome. And DMAS is a resource, yes, if you receive Medicaid services, but it is also a resource if you do not, to just be able to identify doulas in the state
Yeah,
of Virginia. And on the flip side of that, if you are someone who happens to find your way to this podcast and you have an interest in becoming a doula or someone who assists women through their perinatal journey, then DMAS would be the first place you would probably want to reach out to find out more information about becoming certified if it's an interest in helping the community.
yeah.
Um, That's great information. Now, if someone happens to hear this and you're familiar, and they are not in Virginia, now, granted, I would like to think that DMAS might be able to direct them to other Medicaid services or programs that may be available in other states. But I'm speaking from a standpoint of sharing whether or not there are any national organizations that you're familiar with and that you may have worked with or receive information from that you could also recommend as a resource.
Yes. So
Mhm.
basically, it starts at a state level of finding the resources.
Okay.
So, two organizations that you may be familiar with is we do have an organization in Virginia called Birth and Color RVA. That
Yeah.
is where I originally received my doula certification from. And then we also have Urban Baby Beginnings as
Okay.
well. So, those are two main hubs that we have in Richmond, Virginia to provide resources for as well. So, they offer training. The national one that I am currently doing a partnership with that I can state is cocolife.black.
CocoLife.Black.
Yes. And the
Oh,
reason
okay.
why I say that that is nationally is because we offer the Moms Tour, which goes to different cities and states where there are maternal toxic areas and
Mm,
does a huge community baby shower. At those baby shower are resources where you will find everything that you need in the community, right? At Coco Life Black, what we are providing is 20 doulas scholarships for each city that we attend. So
wow.
20 doulas within that state will receive scholarships to learn to be a trauma-informed doula, to be of assistance to anyone that may have attended that baby shower or
Awesome.
community baby shower. Yes.
Okay, awesome. This is great. And I would like to circle back to one thing in particular because it is Maternal Mental Health Month.
Yes.
Um, what might I understand, doulas as
Yes.
like the first point of contact, but are there other resources that you can think of that might be readily available for anyone who might find this podcast who is thinking of becoming pregnant or are pregnant and they are currently having challenges, um, emotional or mental challenges, and they don't know who to contact? What might be a good resource for them?
One of the great resources that I would say would be the Maternal Mental Health Leadership Alliance,
Mm,
and that is mmhla.org, right? So
hmm,
that is an alliance that provides a lot of statistics, a lot of research, and a lot of information, right? But
hmm,
there you can find information, you can educate yourself.
hmm,
From there, there's different therapy that I know a lot of, I refer a lot of my clients to. There is a foundation called the Loveland Foundation.
hmm,
They provide vouchers. You have blackgirltherapy.com, and
hmm.
basically really just researching in your area resources that your hospitals may have. You know, in
Hmm.
Virginia, looking at that hospitals, and even possibly if you're going for an appointment, asking, do you all know of any doulas? Because typically they do have a list of doulas or they have a list of resources, right?
Okay.
To find that information out to see. When we think about maternal mental health, there is another organization called Shades of Blue. It is located in Houston, Texas. I'm a new ambassador with them. However, yearly they have a maternal mental health where you can learn mental health 101, as well as they have a training called Inspire Training, right?
Hmm.
INSPIRE. And this Inspire training really, really helped me and assisted me throughout my whole entire doula career. The I is for involve others, right? Help
Hmm.
me, help me to help me,
Hmm.
right? The N is nourishment and exercise. When we were speaking of the different teams that you need, right? The
Hmm.
S is your spirituality and prayer, right? No,
Hmm.
it does not depend on your religion. Find someone that
Hmm.
that is open and willing to talk to you. Then we think about P. We need patience.
Hmm.
We all need patience, right?
Hmm.
Identifying and initiating change. Even
Hmm.
doing this podcast, you are making a change. We never know where this may land, where they may hear, someone may research or look it up and find it, right? Then we have
Hmm.
rest and relaxation. We were talking about that, right?
Hmm.
And then knowing each day is a new day, right? So
Yeah.
that's just a brief synopsis of what the training is. But
Mm,
just thinking about that, really thinking about, okay, if I was in this person's shoes, what is the thing that I need, right? So
Mhm.
that is a resource as well. As when we talk about racial bias and we think of all these things, we have to come together collectively as
Yeah.
a community to connect.
Yeah. And, I would like to add the other thing that I would think, sometimes learning something that is a little bit out of your comfort zone, and to the point you just made, even if I don't want to be a doula, but I just care and love my good friends, many of whom are on journeys to become a mom or who are in the midst of becoming first time mothers, and knowing just how challenging sometimes it can be, just navigating the world, um and especially the world in which we live in right now in 2024. There are lots of things happening that can negatively impact your emotional and mental health,
Yes.
and moms to be are carrying the weight for not just themselves, but also their little bitties that are still within their bodies. So I hope that, a lot of the information that you shared, is just a part of a conversation that we can continue to have about there being absolutely nothing wrong when we say, I am tired, I am overwhelmed, I am overburdened, I am having a difficult time, and I need someone who is skilled, who is knowledgeable, who is trustworthy to talk to so that I can begin to feel better. Because we have to do something about the stigma that is oftentimes within our communities as Black and Brown people when it comes to therapy and therapeutic services, when it comes to our emotional and mental health.
And I would also like to highlight when we think about pregnancy, we think about conception, right? And we think about the pregnancy, we think about the birth where you can have a doula there. But the
Mhm.
most important part where a lot of moms, because homicide
Mm,
is one of the leading causes postpartum care, right? If
mm,
anybody can take away anything, when a mom has given birth, we need to make sure that postpartum we have a team, right? You have a team
mhm.
during pregnancy, you have a team during birth, and you have a team postpartum. A lot of the mental health happens. A lot of the
Yeah,
perinatal mood anxiety disorders, which we call PMADs, happens after birth,
gotcha.
right?
Yeah,
After birth. We cannot forget about that, right? We
yeah,
need to see. And even in Virginia, they are offering postpartum doulas if you have Medicaid for up to 12 months, right? If
awesome.
you do not have Medicaid and you have private or commercial insurance, you can consider having your friends and your family doing a postpartum fund, right?
Mm,
Creating those meal plans, creating that support
mm,
system of so you can rest, creating a postpartum doula that might can come overnight to do night care, maybe can come during the day to provide the help with what you need. We
mhm.
need to collectively come together as a community, and all of the aspects matter. All of it matters. We think, okay, mom and baby, or birthing person and baby, they had the baby, they're good, they're at home. We'll go visit the baby, we'll go hold the baby. No, they need help. What if they are having mental challenges, right? And
Yeah.
they can't even figure out where did they begin to look for a therapist? As even a friend going and said, hey, I found Black Girl Therapy. I found the Love Now Foundation. Let me see what insurance you have. Let's call these to see if they are accepting clients. Are they accepting your insurance, right? Instead of
Yeah.
sitting there and taking pictures of the baby, those are things that can be done. But as a doula, we provide you with that postpartum care plan. Just
Mhm.
know the essentials that you may need. So mental health, a lot of the challenge typically does happen in the postpartum period.
Mhm.
So being
Mhm.
aware, really, really being aware with that. And we are all making steps to collectively come together. We're now more talking about therapy. We're talking about maternal mental health. We're talking about perinatal health. We're talking about preconception and having fertility challenges. And it's important for people to tell your story.
Yeah.
Tell your lived experience. Tell what you need because that may help the next person.
Yeah. I agree.
Any takeaway is every person needs to have a doula, especially every Black woman.
Mm,
Every Black woman needs to have a doula so that you can give you the knowledge. We need to make birth beautiful again. Someone said that at a seminar I was at. And I just sat there for a moment because it read, how can we have birth beautiful when we are dying? We're
Yeah.
dying, our babies are dying,
Yeah.
we're not being listened to, we're not being taken serious, we're not receiving the care that we need. So we
Yeah.
need to make birth beautiful again, right? So
Yeah.
another great resource that I would say that is nationally, it is I'm an ambassador for them as well. It's called Earth, right? Earth
Hmm.
is an app that you can download. It's IRTH. You drop the B for bias, right? It is
Okay.
for Black and Brown people to review hospitals, to
Mm.
review their doula, to review their lactation consultants, to review their nurses, and to review their doctors. Real
Awesome.
life reviews,
Yeah.
real lived experience. You're able to take a look at real case scenarios. Like, for instance, you would be able to go in there, say, I went to this hospital, this did not happen, and someone else will be able to see that
Hmm.
as well.
Hmm.
So that is a great, great resource. And even when it comes to the different apps that we have, your doula has those resources. Like, you need to
Hmm.
have someone that you can trust and support. Have your partner interview the doula with you. Really do your research on what is needed, especially when doulas, we all have subspecialties. I work with a lot of justice involved clients. I
Hmm.
work with high risk pregnancy. This is spiritual for me. It's not a job. It's not anything that can be calculated.
Yeah. This is awesome. And you said the app is called Earth, IRTH.
Yes, you can download it in the Apple Store or in the Google Store. It is like Yelp, but it
Mm,
is for Black and Brown people.
that's
It's
exactly what
specifically
I thought
for
it was.
us, right? This app is particularly for us. We have the data, we have the information.
Hmm. And the last thing I guess I'll say on that is I've never heard of this first and foremost. So thank you so much for sharing. But this also, in my mind, comes a little bit back to yes, you should absolutely secure a doula based on your particular needs, wherever you are in your perinatal journey. But this Earth app sounds like a resource that can help you begin to see what other types of individuals you need on your healthcare team.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes, that is good. Yes, and when we talk about, just to wrap it up, when we talk about that healthcare team, the ideal healthcare team is your doula, either your midwife or your OBGYN, right? A
Hmm.
lactation consultant, right?
Mm.
You need
Hmm.
someone based upon the type of birth that you want, really starting to know doula, midwife, lactation consultant, or doctor, however
Hmm.
it is. But that is
And we
very,
go through
very
in
important.
therapists.
Oh yes,
We
therapist
go
as
through in
therapist.
therapists. So you can talk
Yes,
about all the feelings because listen, as women, we already have a lot of hormonal things happening
yes.
even if we are not with child. So again, it can only be magnified most of the time when you are pregnant. That's a lot of hormonal stuff happening. And especially if it's your first time or if it isn't your first time and you are experiencing some things that may be more challenging than you've experienced before. Like you need someone to talk to in addition to your other healthcare team members to make sure you stay okay during that process for yourself and for your new baby.
And also, when you think about therapy, making sure you also have your doula as well. Because
Yeah.
when we go through therapy, you go through different stages, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So you
Mm-hmm.
need that additional person because therapy can bring a lot out. You
Yes.
will be going through grief. It's different stages in therapy. So
Yeah.
making sure you have that doula so you can talk to your doula about, I have therapy. Your doula will know you have therapy and when you have therapy, right? We
Yeah.
may set your prenatal appointments after that because we have to come together because a lot of people leave therapy because it's bringing those deep rooted issues out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's bringing those emotions. Imagine being pregnant or imagine postpartum and you don't know what you feel. You may not know how you feel. You may not know how to explain how you feel. You need someone to say, hey, this is possibly what's happening. This is possibly what we need to look out for. Because we can say therapy, but you also need someone else sometimes to even process that therapy through, right? When I first
Yeah.
started therapy, I dealt with a lot of mental health challenges and I didn't know what to do because I shut down, right?
Yeah.
Because I was reliving situations. I was
Mm.
mentally going through these thinking like, wow, I'm keep doing these same patterns over and over. What's wrong with me mentally, right? But
Yeah.
I needed someone to keep pushing me, saying, hey, Just go to the next appointment. It may be better. You know,
Yeah.
my first couple of I cried. Like I cried leaving. Like, let's be honest. Like
Yes.
I've been in therapy for the last 3 to 4 years. Even as a doula, I
Yep.
need a therapist.
Yeah.
So I left crying. I left not knowing how to process my emotions.
Because, I think more of us are open to exploring therapy and addressing any sort of issues when it comes to mental and emotional health. But for people who may, have individuals around them that might make them feel shame or might make them feel off, they really oftentimes don't know any more than what they've seen in movies. And they don't know that therapy is truly a journey.
Yes,
And you have to, the same way you interview other folks to service you in your life, you need to interview therapists to find the right fit for your needs in any particular moment,
excellent.
because it is all a part of the process, because you don't know what's going to come up and you don't know how you're going to react. But it is very important for you to know that it is normal to feel the feelings. The most important part, and you just said it, is to not shut down. I've met people, I've talked with people who would just as soon not deal with it and push it back,
Oh,
but it
yes.
always comes back up. So you have to move through it, but just find someone who will make you feel safe and supported as you move through it, and give you tools and resources so that you can navigate your way through it, because
Yes.
there is really no around for certain things. You kind of
The
have to
tunnel,
go
the
through it.
tunnel, the
You just
tunnel,
have
the
to
light
find
at the
the
end
right
of the
fit.
tunnel. Yes.
Absolutely.
And like
Absolutely. And
you
there's no
said,
right or wrong way either. It is
no,
about finding who's right for you, who you trust, who is qualified. Let me
yes.
who is
Yes.
qualified.
And it can meet you where you are, because there are therapists that specialize in fertility. There are therapists that specialize in postpartum care. There's therapists that specialize in trauma informed care. If you experience intimate partner violence or domestic violence or human
Mm,
trafficking, they are specialties, right? So
yeah.
that's where that perinatal health coach comes into effect, because I'm
Mhm.
a one-stop shop for resources, right?
Yeah.
We're able to get those resources. If you're dealing with a fertility journey, talking to a therapist that has no idea that if you're going through IVF or IUI, they can't be of assistance of what you're going through, right? So
Yeah.
having that IVF, IUI doula, having that therapist that's familiar with fertility, that's familiar, and especially someone that looks like you and that
Yeah.
can meet you at the level that you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, this is fantastic. So much really useful and helpful information. Thank you so much. And there's one last thing that I am probably slightly confused about. I could Google it, but I'm
Oh,
going
yeah.
to ask you
Yeah.
before we wrap up. And I noticed in some of the information you shared with me, there was a mention of maternal morbidity and more maternal mortality.
Yes, yes.
Is there, what is the difference, if there is a difference?
So you will see a lot of statistics talking about Black women and maternal mortality and morbidity, that, we are 3 times more likely to die in childbirth, right?
Yeah.
So even as I'm a childbirth educator as well, right? So
Hmm.
childbirth education is a very important resource as well. With that information knowing, right? When you think about morbidity, you're thinking about short or long-term health problems that result from being pregnant and giving birth, right? When you think about mortality, that's death, right? Of a
Hmm.
woman while pregnant or within 42 days of termination or pregnancy due to complications of accidental or incidental, right? We hear a
Hmm.
lot of women's names that they said they died during childbirth, and it's very important for us to know what that is, right? So when
Hmm.
we think about
Hmm.
maternal mental health, we have to think about how it is to assist them through this entire maternal journey, this entire perinatal journey.
Mm. So the mortality is the
Death.
death piece.
That's correct. Yes. Like we want
Yeah.
to make birth as beautiful and as comfortable as possible. Just by hiring a doula, you lower your risk of a C-section, you lower your risk of a longer birth, and you lower your risk of even PMADs, perinatal mood anxiety disorders, by 30% typically.
Yeah.
So think about that, and really, really thinking about that and being aware of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Natasha.
Yeah,
This has been very, very, very informative.
you're welcome.
I would love to one reiterate a couple of the resources, and I will make sure that they are in the description box, including the apps that you mentioned and the organizations. But because we are in Virginia, and we have had some conversations about the importance of including a doula as
Yes,
a part of your maternal health care team, I want to remind people that the Virginia Department of Medical Assistance Services offers doula programs, and that can be the place where you start. Even if you do not receive Medicaid, that is a resource for you if you are interested in hiring or securing a doula, or if you are interested in becoming a doula to provide these services within your community. That's probably one of the first places that you want to start. But since we have Natasha here who offers all these fantabulous services, let the folks know how they might be able to contact you if they are interested in securing you or just getting more information for others in their life who may be on this perinatal journey.
absolutely. Yes. So, through me being a perinatal health equity coach, I provide doula services. I have a great team that are trauma informed doulas. These women are excellent. I do provide childbirth education, which is totally separate than being a doula. And I'm pending my certified lactation counselor to be a certified lactation counselor, as
Go ahead.
well as yes. So you can find me at typically my social media handles, and my website as of right now is link LINK tree, and that's going to be TR period EE / NQE Natural Queen Essential Services, but just NQE Services. You can
Mhm.
find me on Instagram at NQE Services, or you can type in Natural Queen Essentials, as well as Facebook, LinkedIn. You can find me at I'm Natasha Aldrich. I'm trying to think what else we have.
So you said for your website, you gave your link tree, which
Yes,
is also available from your Instagram page, which is NQE Services,
yes,
and your Facebook page, which is NQE Services,
yes.
and your LinkedIn is Natasha Aldrich.
Yes, it's Natasha Aldrich. Yes. And if you type in Natural Queen Essentials as well, you will see that. But being that I am having my ambassadors and my Coco Doulas collectively coming together, we are offering a wide range of doula services. So it's
Awesome,
been a
awesome.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us and share this very useful information. And I am going to let Miss Natasha go, and I will see you next time.
All right. Bye, everyone.
I hope that you found that information as informative as I did. And if you are on a perinatal journey or someone you know and love is, please refer them to Natasha for additional resources to help them build their maternal health care team and get into some of this research, so that we can make things better for all, specifically Black and Brown women who are suffering the most when it comes to healthcare in general, and even more so when it comes to maternal health. So, until the next episode, later.